Myers Corp Creations. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you guys could tune in tonight. Happy Monday, folks. It is Monday, April the 3rd. My name is Myers Corporations, as I said. For those who are new to the channel and new to the show, I am a cosplayer from Ontario, Canada. I've been a nerd since I was a little kid. I am a comic book fan. I'm a video game fan. I'm a movie fan. I'm wrestling fan, everything else. And I'm here to talk about my favorite culture, and that is nerd culture. And tonight we're going to talk about one of the most important questions that I'm ever asked, and that is about my famous name. So for those who don't know my name in real life and was born Michael Myers. I usually go by Mike by most people, but full name Michael Myers. Yes, the serial killer is my name. And we're going to get into that later on of, who decided that was my name? What was it like growing up with that name? Was it fun? And do I have a costume? We'll talk about that in a bit. But first, we're going to talk about the news. We got a lot of news to get through. It has been a busy weekend. So let's kick things off with a little bit of wrestling because this weekend was WrestleMania 39. I can't believe it's been 39 WrestleManias. I remember becoming a wrestling fan back in 1997, and that was just after WrestleMania 13. We're now 39, almost 40 into it. It's kind of insane, but I will fully admit, as a wrestling fan, I did not watch last night. Unfortunately, I do not have the network. I was supposed to go to a friend's place, but unfortunately some things happened and I was not able to go. So I did not get to see WrestleMania live for probably one of the first times in my fandom, but I did see the results. I did see clips of it and it looked like it was a heck of an event. Like I said, I am a big fan, so I have seen previous ones. For those who don't know, WrestleMania used to be a one-day event. It is now turned into a two-day event. There is a Saturday show. There is a Sunday show. The Saturday show traditionally has turned into a better show. I don't know why, but ever since they've done the switch, which started in 2020, it's kind of been synonymous with being the better show. And from what I've seen, that's what the results are saying right now is night one was an amazing night. We had a lot of big highlights with, let me start going through the card in my head. I believe Charlotte Flair defended her women's title against Rhea Ripley, the new up-and-comer. And that was supposedly match of the night. From what I've seen from the clips, I can't say anything otherwise. I think it definitely was match of the night. Rhea Ripley came out victorious and is the new SmackDown Women's Champion. The end of the show was the tag team title match, which pitted Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, which have been in a feud with the Bloodline for over, seems like 2 years. Captured the unified tag team championships from the Usos in what also looked like an amazing match. Overall, it looked like a great night on the first night. The second night, there may have been some hiccups going into it. The main event was Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and that looked like it was kind of set in stone that Cody Rhodes is going to become your new Universal Champion. However, Roman Reigns came out victorious, and that was I kind of expected it. It seemed, as I've been a wrestling fan for many, many years, I've seen it happened so many times where you go into an event and the event seems so obvious that it's going to go one way and you know that they're just going to pull it the other way because it's so obvious. So I was very understanding of it. Let's say I'm kind of impartial on who won. I know a lot of people were very upset that Cody didn't win, but you know what? It just makes you want to watch tonight on Monday Night Raw and see what's going to happen and what's going to happen at the next pay-per-view. So keeps your eyeballs on it. I'm interested in seeing where they're going to go from this because Roman Reigns has beat pretty much everybody in the company. So that is going to be an interesting check forward to see who his next challenger is going to be. Unfortunately, we did have an injury last night. Vince McMahon's son, Shane McMahon, came back and had a little match with The Miz. And unfortunately, after a leapfrog, he tore his ACL or his quad. So he is going to be out for a little while. It was kind of sad to see him go down like that in the middle of the ring. However, Snoop Dogg was there and he filled in quite well in that little bit of an impromptu match. So that was pretty fun to see. But overall, I'll probably catch some more of it. I'll probably end up watching it sometime in the future. But overall, it looked like an amazing card. It looked like it was one of the best WrestleManias in a while. I know the last few have had their ups and downs, especially again with the two nights. That first night seems to be an amazing killer night, and then that second night just kind of bleh. So looks like it was a good one. I will probably catch it later. However, that is not the big news of the weekend. The big news of the weekend is that as of, I think they said quarter 3 of 2023, the WWE is going to be sold. The WWE is no longer going to be controlled and owned by someone by the name McMahon. After almost 70 years, Vince McMahon has decided to sell the WWE to Endeavor. Now, for those who don't know who Endeavor is, Endeavor are the people who own UFC. And Endeavor has come out this morning, first thing in the morning, and said they will be combining the UFC and they will be combining it with the WWE to create its own organization under the Endeavor umbrella. And it's kind of crazy to think that that's going to happen. We're going to have a world where Vince McMahon is still going to be a part of it. He is going to be the COO or no, executive chair of the board. Executive chair of the board. Yeah, he's going to be the executive chair of the board, but he's not going to have control. And that is, as a wrestling fan who's been, it's always been a McMahon. Like even now with what's happened recently with his legal troubles, you've had his daughter Stephanie be a part of it, and you've had Triple H be a part of it, who, if you don't know, is married to Stephanie McMahon, so he's sort of part of the family. But having a WWE without a Vince McMahon is interesting to say the least. I'm very interested to see where it's going to go. I'm optimistic because I know Endeavor's done a lot with the UFC brand, and they've done a great job making it its own, a bigger entity than what it was when Dana White sort of had control of everything. But I'm interested. I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. I'm very interested to see what the future holds for the WWE. Are they going to combine a little bit of the UFC with the WWE? I mean, WWE has Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar, who are former champions in the UFC. I don't know. I think every wrestling fan sort of scratching their head, realizing we're going to live in a world where it's not going to be a McMahon in charge anymore. So that was kind of the big news. It's been the talk of the day for WWE fans and, the business world at large, because the one of the crazy thing is that Vince McMahon and the WWE is being sold for $9.3 billion. Like, that's an insane amount of money, but for how much revenue that organization brings in and how much fan base and potential they have going forward, like, it's insane to think that that's going to be even bigger possibly now that Endeavor is going to be taking over. So again, I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. I'm very interested to see what WWE is going to look like next year. I mean, based off what they've said, this was the last WrestleMania that is going to be led by Vince McMahon and not have a corporation over top of it. So this is going to be interesting. I'm interested. I'm interested. I'm not going to bash it yet. Let's wait and see. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about, if you watched WrestleMania, what do you guys think of that? If you saw the news of the WWE and you're a wrestling fan, it's not going to be owned by Vince or McMahon after quarter 3 this year. What are your thoughts on that? Throw it in the chat. I'll try and throw out some ideas. I'll mention some of the comments in the video if you leave something. But let's move over from the wrestling side to the comic book side, because there was also 2 big trailers dropped in the past 24 hours. The one that everyone's talking about is this Blue Beetle trailer is pretty cool looking. I know a little bit of the Blue Beetle just from the Injustice game. I haven't read a lot of Blue Beetle. He's popped up in little things I've read, but I'm not a giant fan of the character. I kind of get the concept of there's a scarab jewel, so to speak, that looks like a beetle, and it goes into him and he becomes the Blue Beetle, and he can basically create anything with the powers, and he has a suit, and it looks really cool. That trailer though has made me a fan though. It is a really cool trailer. After you're done watching this video, pop over onto hold up the search bar above me, and you can type in Blue Beetle trailer, and it is not bad looking. I'm really interested. I think that this is kind of the problem with the DCU is every time they hit a low point, they throw out a trailer that just knocks the pants off everybody, and then you just go, okay, now I got to watch this. And hopefully this one holds up. It looks fun. It looks like the kid who's playing, I'm trying to remember the kid's name. I want to say Robbie Reyes, but that's Ghost Rider. I can't remember the kid's name. But anyways, the kid who plays Blue Beetle looks like he's having a blast. And it looks fun. It looks fun. It looks a little bit, brings back some feelings of what Iron Man 1 felt like. So if that's the way they're going, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm waiting to see what some more look like, but off that first trailer, you guys sold the ticket for me. The second trailer, which nobody I know has said anything about today, is a Secret Invasion trailer dropped last night starring Samuel L. Jackson, and that doesn't look like anything I've seen before. This Secret Invasion trailer reminded me a lot of Winter Soldier. It really feels like this sort of espionage. No, I wouldn't say espionage, but like undercover and sort of almost a Jason Bourne Mission Impossible type movie. So uh, it doesn't look like there's a lot of big bombastic explosions and everything like a lot of the Marvel movies have been lately. So this could be a more grounded, grittier trailer or movie, and I think this is going to be I think this might bring a couple fans back of going, well, I didn't like what Marvel's been doing, so maybe I'll give this one a shot because it looks a little different. So this again, after you're done this, check up top, type in Secret Invasion trailer. I know a bunch of people who are big fans of Marvel, even with what's going on, but no one's talking about this, so that kind of took me by surprise because I'm like, it's Samuel L. Jackson. Everyone knows the Nick Fury character, and not kind of been silent on it. So check it out. Again, same with WrestleMania. If you've seen the trailers, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd be interested to see what everyone else is saying because, like I said, it's kind of been radio silence for me. Last bit of news for the day: Fan Expo Canada, the Comic-Con that I've been going to for almost 13, 14 years now, dropped a bunch of new guests that are going to be coming in this August. And the big one, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest ones, Christina Ricci is going to be in Toronto in August for Fan Expo Canada. You know Christina Ricci from Wednesday from the Addams Family movies. So she will be huge, probably. For all my friends who are volunteering, who work the autograph lines, have fun because I can just imagine how busy you folks are going to be that day. Because I got a feeling she's going to have a lineup for a mile long, but deservingly so. She's done so many things in her life. I mean, honestly, I grew up not really being a big Addams Family fan. I've seen the movies, but I'm not a diehard fan. I haven't seen Wednesday yet, but it looks amazing. My wife has seen it, and she says it's really good. I know her from Casper. I said that to the group of friends that do the volunteering. I said, I wonder how much Casper merch she's going to be signing because that's where I know her from. And I think they're kind of around the same time period. So it's kind of I know Wednesday's a little more popular right now just because of the show, but that's a big one, and the one that they listed a whole bunch of them from Miss Beckett from Arrow's going to be there. Spock from the new bunch of Star Trek movies is going to be there. Peck, I believe his name is. Yes, Peck. I think his last name. Anyways, but the one I'm interested in, and a lot of people will be interested if you're a Marvel fan. Vincent D'Onofrio is going to be there. Kingpin from the Daredevil series is going to be making an appearance. Now, love the Daredevil series. Loved him in, Hawkeye as the Kingpin, but I'm sorry. I'm a Law and Order fan, and Law and Order Criminal Intent may not be my favorites of the series, but he did a good job on Law and Order. So Depending on the price, I do have Criminal Intent Season 1 on DVD, so I might have to bring that to Fan Expo and get a little signature on that one, because yeah, any Law and Order fans out there think probably have him as one of the best characters in that series. At least in my book, he is. And but yeah, this is already kicking off. We're only in April, and I think these were announced before even April 1st. So we're in March and we're already getting these big celebrities being announced. This is going to be a big fan expo, and I cannot wait to be there. It's going to be a blast. Um, when it comes to my cosplay, I will definitely be bringing back the Ghost Rider for that con. I'm trying to think. I'm going to be working on Dash Rendar. I might be getting that done, and I'm trying to get something going for the Masquerade. We will see how that works. I know I've started enough of it that I might be able to make it, but just with other commitments and stuff, we will see how that goes. But definitely Ryder will be making an appearance that weekend, and hopefully I will see all of you there as well. That's it for the news today. That's a whole bunch of news over the weekend, and there's probably stuff I missed. I'm trying to think if there's anything last minute. Oh, I do have one last thing. I saw an image today that I am not. This goes into a question that comes up later in the Q&A. I did see an image today that has made me go, okay, I haven't really cared about buying any new comics in a while. I'm usually a graphic novel person. I'll wait till the full graphic novel comes out and I'll buy that. I won't buy individual issues. However, I saw a photo today that in April, Marvel is going to be somehow putting Ghost Rider and Weapon X together. So the photo I saw is Ghost Rider with the Wolverine Weapon X helmet on, and he's got green flames. I saw that photo and went, okay, you may have sold me a comic, because that is a cool concept and a cool look. So I'm going to be checking that out. I don't know if I'll build it as a costume, but it's a cool look. So we'll see. We'll see how the comic goes, and maybe it'll be a variant that comes out in the future. All right, that is it for the news. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. If you do, hit like, hit subscribe. You know all the stuff that makes this stuff run a little better. It tells YouTube, hey, this guy is pretty cool. Let's push this a little more to a couple more people. Let's go into the sponsors tonight. I only got one sponsor, and it is the sponsor that is the most important to me, and that is my wife. My wife is always my sponsor. She is always number one on this channel, and that is because if it wasn't for her, I would not be here. I would be just a lonely, lonely person sitting in my room going, I wish I could be doing something. And because of her, I'm here doing this for you and for her because it's fun. And she gives me the guts, the cojones, whatever you want to call it, to go out and just do stuff because it's fun. So thank you, hun. I love you. Greatly appreciated to have that you have my back under all circumstances. Now, main event time. The important question that everybody asks when they meet me. Your name's Michael Myers. Yes, my name is Michael Myers. Yes, I was born Michael Myers. It was not changed because I'm an uber fan of the movies or the actor. That is kind of the interesting part with the name Michael Myers. I've met other people who have famous names. Mine is sort of a dual wield. I have the horror side, which is good around October. And I also have the comedian, who is Mike Myers. And that is good from time to time. When, so let's go back. So my name is Michael Myers. I was born Michael Myers. The story is, and my parents are divorced, to be completely honest. They have had disagreements about my name. They have had a disagreement on how or why I was named this. For my mom's side, I was told I was going to be Paul because my mom is a giant Beatles fan and Kiss fan. So Paul Stanley, Paul McCartney. I was supposed to be Paul Myers, which I was perfectly fine with. I think that's a fine name. But she says at the last minute, I was told my dad decided to change it at the last minute and changed it to Michael without thinking about the problems or benefits of having that as a full name. Um, my dad says otherwise. My dad says that they agreed that it was going to be Michael. It was not him butting in and saying it's going to be Michael. I don't care who's telling the truth or who's, misinformation. They're probably both a little bit right, and that's fine. Um, but yeah, I was born Michael Myers, which another funny story. I have the benefit of Michael Myers, and I also have the story of I was born around 11:50 in the evening. So during, I was one of the last, I think I was, if not one of the last babies born that day. And that day it was all boys. Everybody had a boy. And when it came down to me being born, they had run out of blue blankets. This was back in the day when you had boys had blue blankets and girls had pink blankets. So they ran out of blue blankets. So when I was born, my mom, we had our moment. My dad and I had our moment, and then my dad brought me out to see all of his family and my mom's family. And I'm wrapped in a pink blanket, and everyone freaks and goes, "It's a girl!" And then my dad goes, "No, it's not. It's a boy." And I always laugh at that because, I do, big productions and theater, kind of what some people might traditionally would say would be a female thing. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying some people, and especially in that generation, think that way. But I'm a boy, and I just always find that funny. And I also, because I'm a big Bret Hart fan, so I have absolutely no problem rocking a big blanket because, as Bret Hart says, I am also Canadian, so red, white together equals pink, and that is the perfect color for me. So, yeah, I was named Michael Myers, and when I was growing up, I really didn't realize what that meant. When I was in grade school, there was a little bit of chatter about what, my name, but I really didn't put it together. I remember being within I had to be 5 or less, and I remember watching Looney Tunes cartoons with my grandmother, and there was an artist with the first name Michael. And I would always point to the screen when it came up, and I would say, "That's my name. That's me. That's me." And she would always laugh, and she goes, "Oh, no, it's not. That's everybody, tons of people have the name Michael. Don't That's not you." But she would kind of entertain it. And after a while, I kind of realized what my name was because, again, people at school would bring things up of, "Ooh, you're Michael Myers," but not say what that meant. So I would just get, "Ooh, you're Michael Myers," and I would go, "Yep." Point. Like, is there like, why is that a problem? So it wasn't until probably grade 5 that I started to realize the details of that and what came with that. And that was finding out what Michael Myers was. And that's the serial killer from Halloween. Now, back in the day, there was a store called the It Store, which is very similar to what Spencer's is now, or one of those Hot Topics or something like that. And we would always go in there, and they had horror merchandise, and that was one of the first times when I saw what Michael Myers was, because we were walking down the hallway or the aisleway, and we ran into one of those. They had one of the dolls. It was about this tall, and it had cloth, and it would talk when you pushed on the chest, and I would just sit there in trance looking at this thing going, "Whoa, like that's Michael Myers. Like that's me." Um and it was cool to see like my name on a toy. And at the time I didn't watch the horror movies until much later in my life. So I just thought this was this killer that, you know, it was what it was. It didn't really hit me until I got to, I would probably say 13, I would say. And that was the time when I finally saw Halloween. I remember I grew up never watching horror movies. I was always terrified. Even to this day, I will never ever. You can buy me a free pass, you can buy me airfare. I will probably never step foot in a Hollywood Horror Nights or even Canada's Wonderland, Frightmare Fest, whatever you want to call it. I hate that shit. I am the biggest chicken when it comes to that. I hate haunted houses. I hate all of that stuff. If it's on a screen, I'm good. If it's in person, I'm fainting. It's never good for me. Tara, petition for you to meet Jamie Lee Curtis just for. I would love to meet Jamie Lee Curtis. She is on my bucket list. She I am waiting for that Fan Expo announcement to meet Jamie Lee Curtis. That would be I would wait hours to meet her. She would be amazing. Um, but yeah, I would never do any of those Hollywood Horror Nights. I would never do any of that type of stuff. So finally, I decided, I have to see this movie. Everyone talks about my name, blah blah blah. I have to see what this is. So I ended up going to the public library. I rented it for the day, came home, put it. This is like 1 p.m. in the afternoon. All the windows are open. Every light in the house is on. And I put in Halloween 1 from 1970 something. And I went, that's it? That's all? I couldn't believe that at the end of this movie, I was like, this is nothing. This isn't even scary. And it made me go, oh, well, it's all just pretend and it's not real. So what am I freaking out about? And that made me want to watch every single one after that. I rented every horror movie I've ever had the inkling of watching, and I watched them all. And because of that, I am a giant horror fan now. You know what? I wouldn't say giant horror fan. I am a horror fan. I don't mind Halloween's, Friday the 13th, Jason's, Hellraisers. Some of the new stuff, it's not really my bag. A lot of the over the top, and I don't mean over the top in violence because 99% of those are over the top, but a lot of like the what's it called? The hostels and the gore and stuff like that. The over the top stuff is a little too much. If it's a good psychological thriller or a good horror movie where there's this killer walking through the woods, I'm in for that because the reality of that actually happening is so low that I can go, okay, I can get behind this. But when you're watching stuff that could possibly happen, like I Spit on Your Grave and stuff like that, which I have seen, but I'm going, it's a little too close to reality for me. Um, but yeah, that made me go, okay, this is cool. I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to have fun with this. And that was also the time when I realized that there was also another Mike Myers out there, and that was the comedian Mike Myers from Wayne's World and Austin Powers and Saturday Night Live. And he was Canadian, which made it even better. And that came with its problems because when Austin Powers came out, I remember going to see that with my dad, all three of them. And I enjoyed it, but that's where the teasing came in. And that's when I don't want to say bullying, but the comments would come in of, oh, you're Austin Powers, hey, groovy baby. And it's just, it becomes nails on a chalkboard when you've heard it for the 20 millionth time. And I was at the age where if that came out now with my, the person I am now, I would be okay with it. But being that young and it being a very sexual movie, I didn't like it because I was at that age where, yeah, it's just yucky. And but I did love Wayne and Wayne's World, and I still love Wayne and Wayne's World. That is probably one of my favorite characters because he's a rocker. He's a 90s rocker. And guess what? So am I. I'm a 90s rocker, and I just totally fell in love with that character. And I fell in love with him as an actor. I mean, even his stuff on SNL has been amazing. He's had some problems with some films. Like, I'm not a big fan of, The Love Guru and all that fun stuff. Yes, sorry, the 80s. Thank you. Well, it was from the 90s. He loves the 80s, so it kind of works. Um, but I also, like I said, I also ran through things like Love Guru, and that was not a fun one to live through because that was when a lot of the teasing came in because that was another like over sexualized movie that was just it became really annoying after a while. But on the flip side, I did get to have some fun with it, and that was I did get some really cool comments from people. And you know what? It's a really good icebreaker. That is the one thing I've said about this name is while it did have some flaws back in the day, it is a very good icebreaker when you're meeting new people because they're the first ones to say, "Your name's Mike Myers." And I look at them and go, "I'm aware. How are you?" Cuz I've lived with it my whole life, so it doesn't my friends get more kick out of it than I do. I just it's another name. It's my name. It's not they get the fun of going, I'm friends with Mike Myers. And especially like going to a new job or, when I started volunteering, you had everybody who's Mike Myers. So I'm glad they enjoy it. It's a name to me. It really doesn't have anything special to me. It's just I've always had it, so it's not really anything for me. But going back to having fun, I got to have fun with this name because, well, I do costumes, and one of the characters, one version, Michael Myers has a pretty iconic costume. Mike Myers also does have some iconic costumes. I will never be Shrek. Don't ask. It ain't gonna happen. Not a huge fan of that franchise personally, but that's an age thing. I was past I was too old for that for me. It passed me by. But I do have a Wayne costume and I do have a Michael Myers costume. I have had a Michael Myers costume probably since I would say 17, 16. I was gifted my first Michael Myers mask from my mom. She I don't know. I can't remember what she was going in for, but she went to Spencer's, it was getting close to Halloween, and she went in and she came home and gave me it as a gift. I had no idea it was coming. She just gave it to me and it was amazing. I still have it. It doesn't fit anymore. My head's kind of ballooned up since then. But I got that mask and my eyes lit up and went, okay, this is my Halloween costume for the next 100 years, which it kind of has become that. Um, it's it's a fun character to dress up as. The big thing I used to do, and I don't do it any as much anymore because I'm kind of as a cosplayer. This is a note for anybody who doesn't know cosplay. I don't know about the rest of the cosplayers out there who watch this, but personally, by the time I hit yeah, probably by the time I hit by the time I hit the end of Fan Expo Comic Con season, you'd go into Halloween. I don't want to do any more costumes. I have been doing costume stuff probably I usually start around January, February, up until the end of August, beginning of September. I don't want to do anything come October. Usually Halloween parties and stuff, I'm throwing something on easy, not putting a lot of work into it. Hence, the Michael Myers costume worked out very well. Um, I would dress up in that and I would go for walks. I would just put the mask on. I had the coveralls, I had the boots, and I would just walk and I would be in full character. I wouldn't move. I wouldn't interact with anybody because I'm a professional and I'm kind of crazy. I would just walk and I would just keep my head straight and not interact with anybody. I would just keep focused. And I got to the point where I would hear people whisper because there are holes in the ears. And I would hear people talking and I would want to turn and kind of look at them. But I'm like, no, I have to stay focused. So it turned, the next version of it was I had no, I did not, no, they were wired at the time. I had wired earbuds that would go in and I would have it hooked into, I had my MP3 player and I would delete everything off it and just put over and over and over again the Halloween theme. And I would just have that playing in my ears. And I would just be walking with that, keeping me in character. And I did that for many, many years. One of the most fun ones was two of my best friends, Tom and Krista. Krista's dad worked at an ambulance dispatch, whatever you want to call it, facility. Um, if you know where I live in Hamilton, Ontario, we sort of live on the city's sort of broken up into what we call the regular city and we call the mountain. There's an escarpment that sort of breaks the city up. And he worked like halfway up the escarpment. There's many roads that go up there. And I can't remember what it was. I think I went for a walk and we ended up at their place, which used to not be far from here. And then we had to go to the ambulance department or the ambulance depot, and which is probably half hour from here, a half hour walk. We stopped there and it was a shitty night. It was cold. It wasn't rainy, but it was like that mist, crummy rain. And we decided to walk home. Well, if you don't know the escarpment and you don't know the area, the escarpment is trees. It's like wilderness I would say wilderness, but it's trees that go up the side. So if you walk up the escarpment or you walk through the escarpment, you're walking through pretty good dense tree area. And we decided we're going to walk home, but we're going to walk through the trees. And we're just trekking along. I'm not in character, obviously, because I'm with friends. And we got close to my house, and there was a guy living, I think, in that wooded area. I think he was homeless. And he was terrified. He took off running when he saw me. And I had been in costume for so long, I forgot I was in costume and what I was wearing. And Tom and Krista are dying because they're like, what's so funny? And then they realize, oh, this guy's in the middle of the forest and just saw Michael Myers walking around on Halloween night. So it was pretty funny to see that happening. And that happened many times. The best one is walking through, we have a park around the corner from us, and it's a good sized park. And with most parks like that, you have, youth doing all sorts of illegal or legal drugs or whatever you want to call them. I was trying to think of a fancy word for them, but they pretty much are drugs. And they would always hang around. They have a fountain area. They would always hang around there. And the one Halloween night, I just decided I'm going to walk through the park just to, sort of keep the myth of the character and everything. And I'm walking through, and there are a bunch of kids, had to be not much younger than me, probably about the same age, actually. And they're all hooting and hollering by the fountain. And I just walk past them within probably 40 feet, 50 feet. And they see me and they shut up instantly. And I could see them out of the corner of my eye, and they just all shut up and they all just stare and watch as I walk by. And I am dying laughing inside because, and of course, I don't want to break character, but it was so funny. Not many years later, I told that story to one of my coworkers, and my coworker said, "I was one of those, and you have no idea how terrifying that was because I was stoned out of my mind at the time." So he got a kick out of it, and I'm glad the people that did see it did get a kick out of it. As my amazing, lovely wife has pointed out in the chat, I do not do those walks anymore. I I agree. Times have changed, and there is a possibility that something could happen to me if someone saw me. That's a side note. I don't ever carry the knife. That was a duh. I'm never doing that. And if I ever did, it would be one of those plastic, comically huge knives that people are going, yeah, right. That's not real. But no, I would never carry the knife. Um, but yeah, ever since we got married, actually probably before that, I think I did one or two while I was dating, and then she kind of went, "Let's I don't want something happening to you." And I put up a fight when that first came up, but looking back on it, she was right. I don't, times have changed and I don't want something to happen to me because I would feel bad. And I would also be laying in the hospital room and she would look down and tell me she told me so. And I don't want to hear that. So she wants me to be safe. So I'm going to be a good husband and I'm not going to make her, I don't want her to be afraid that I get hurt. So what my new thing is, and I was supposed to start it last year, but it was a crummy night. I'm going to just sort of decorate the front of the house, stand on the front of the house, and just let people take the candy from the bowl, whether they dare to come close to Michael Myers or not. But that, yeah, so that is kind of the story. Oh, I do have a couple masks. So that was the one thing I was going to get into, but I did a left turn. Um, I do have the original mask that I was gifted. I also bought a Halloween remake, the Rob Zombie remake version, because I really like that mask. I don't think that mask and that costume gets the respect it deserves. The movie, I get it, take it, leave it. I'm kind of in the middle with it. I like the distressed look on that mask, and I always liked that look. I purchased that probably, I want to say 10 years, no, more than 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And the thing disintegrated so bad. I probably had that thing in good working condition for probably 4 years, and then I had left it at my mom's. I was living with my wife at the time, and I came back and looked at it, and it just got hard and gross, and it just started cracking. It sucked, and I felt bad because I really liked that mask, and it was actually a good size, but it just crummy quality. Um, the other one, the one from the thumbnail on this video, that is I purchased that last year from, Spirit Halloween. They had the new because the new movie came out, they had the retro one as well, so I picked up that. It fits great. I've weathered it. If you go on my Instagram, you've seen some photos of what I've done to that to make it a little better. The photo in the thumbnail is a very clean look. I hadn't weathered it yet. But yeah, it's a lot more gritty, a lot more beat up, which I kind of like. I think the clean original look is not bad, but it's a little too white. So this one's good. And the only other one I have was actually one that I was gifted on my Stag and Doe. My dad went on to one of those celebrity autograph websites and picked up a couple things. And one of them was an autographed Michael Myers mask by Tyler Mane, who played Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie movies, which I appreciate his look. I appreciate everything about that movie. I just think it's kind of hit and miss. But I like Tyler Mane, even as Sabretooth in the X-Men movies. I'm a fan of his. And I kind of made a joke to my dad when he showed me it. I went, "Oh, for the Stag and Doe." And he goes, "Yeah." And I went, "You know who'd really appreciate that mask? Me." Like, why don't we just make that a birthday present or something? And he's like, no, it's for the stag and doe. So we put it up there, and everyone's kind of looking like, you don't want this? And I'm like, no, like it'd be cool to have, but whatever. And my amazing aunt, I don't know if she came in late or something, but she at our stag and doe, she walked in, bought a whole ton of tickets, and just dropped them all in that box. And I looked at her and I'm like, I know you don't want it, so I know exactly what you're gonna do. And sure enough, it was completely I didn't pick it on purpose. Her name was picked, and she just walked over, grabbed the mask, walked over, and gave it to me. And she said, you should have this. And I gave her a big hug, and I still love her. And thank you so much for that. That was greatly appreciated. And yeah, so I've had 4 masks. I don't know if I want any more. I think if I could find a good high quality of the original, because for those who don't know, the mask has changed every single movie. Like when you say there's a Michael Myers mask, if you're a Halloween fan, you go, okay, which one? Because there's been a different one on every movie. I the one number one's the classic. I love that one. They kind of get progressively worse throughout the series. 6, the Michael Myers Returns, is I have a soft spot for that movie and a soft spot for that mask. Side note, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, is in that movie. Same with the Rob Zombie. I wouldn't mind getting a Rob Zombie again, but again, how much that mask costs now was just stupidly priced if you want a good quality one, and I just don't have that kind of money for something that's going to sit on a shelf and I'm probably never going to wear. But yeah, I think that's about it for my name. Yeah, it's been fun having the name. Like I said, it's a great icebreaker. It's great to, it's great to meet people. And I if you ever want to say anything about it, any jokes or anything about it, please feel free. Don't ever think that I'm going to get offended by it. I've heard them all a billion times, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I get the humor, and I'm glad you guys enjoy it because, again, to me, it's just a name. It really doesn't have anything for me, but I'm glad you all enjoy knowing that you have a friend named Michael Myers. And I think if I was the opposite, I would find that pretty cool too. So thank you all, Phantom Frontier, Michael Myers, and Ghostface Walk. Think it over. I'm going to think that over. Good call, Dave. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We are at the 7:48 mark. Let's jump into 3 questions, and then we will get you on your evening. First question of the night: how do I stay motivated? This was brought up by a friend of mine who mentioned it a couple days ago. They're talking about becoming a cosplayer, and they said, I'm really interested in getting into this. I'm really getting interested in wanting to pursue it. What do you do to stay motivated? How do you not just look at it and go, oh my God, this is too much? You just do every costume as it comes up. The first thing you have to do is not look at who the big cosplayers are, because you're not at that level yet. Don't try to become that yet, because it took them years and years and years and years. With every project has probably failed 100 times for them, and you're just seeing all the great things that have come out of them. And again, it's years of experience and years of costumes coming up to you as if they all came out yesterday. They didn't. So stay motivated by just doing what you want to do. If you want to build a cosplay, just try building it, and you're going to fail. It's perfectly fine. It happens to everybody. I fail all the time, and I've learned to just agree with that happens and move on. If you want to be motivated from something like a medium, I personally love the channel Sneaky Zebra. They don't do as much as they used to since the pandemic hit, but they go to different conventions and they shoot cosplayers and they shoot little compilation videos from each con. And they are so motivating because they don't just do big builds, they do little builds, they do all different genres, and they do it in such a cool way. They always pick a cool song for the video. So I always say, I always put on Sneaky Zebra if I kind of need that little bit of kick in the butt to kind of get going. But you kind of have to have that little bit of motivation inside you of, I want to do this. And you just kind of need to go, I'm going to get through it. I'm going to keep pushing. And you'll see it through. If it's something you really want to do, you will find that passion inside you if it's something you really want to do. Kels, I remember when you first started out, you were so hard on yourself. I agree. When you start just having fun, it does. And I was super hard on myself. That's why I say what I say. That's why I say don't look at the big builds, because that was my first thing. Is I started looking at these guys and going, "Oh my god, I want to build an Iron Man suit," and then I went, "Oh no, I can't build an Iron Man suit." So you just have to stand up and say, I can only do what I can do for now, but every time I build something, I'm going to learn a new skill and I'm going to learn something, and I'm probably going to learn it by failing. And that's okay. So that's how I stay motivated. Question number 2. What is the latest comic series you have read? What is the latest comic book that I have read? Um, Well, like I said earlier, I don't keep up with a lot of the current stuff because just I've had enough single issues in my life. I don't have the space to buy single issues. Um, Graphic novels wise, I have actually been trying to read many of them. I have a pretty good collection, and they just keep growing every Fan Expo. There is a booth at Fan Expo Canada every year that I love going to, but it's just so cheap that you just buy everything. And I think last year I picked up 10 new books, and I'm going, I already have, that's going to fill a shelf. Um, I already have so many that I haven't read. So I started earlier this year, actually mid last year. I said, okay, I need to start reading, and I actually have to start reading these. One of the ones that I read recently, and I'm going to grab it, is The Three Jokers. I really enjoyed this book. I am not a Joker fan. I think the character is a little overplayed. I feel like when Batman needs something, they just go Joker, and I feel that kind of is becoming a crutch. However, Jeff Johns, who is one of my favorite writers, and Jason Fabok, who does the artwork, he is such a good artist. I really love his attention to detail. I love his color. And I really enjoyed this book. I think it was something, I think I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it because I didn't expect it. And I think that's something that, if I read something like a Green Lantern or even just a Batman in general, I kind of know what I'm going to get. So I kind of go, this is probably going to be a 5 to 10 or a 7 to 10. Going into this, I was kind of like, we'll see. And it was actually really good. So that was probably the best one right now. Other than that, I think I'm going to be reading Shazam, actually. I think I have Shazam upstairs. It's the Shazam New 52, I think it is. The New 52 compilation I'm going to read of Shazam. So that'll be the next thing I'm going to read. And I've probably got 40 others to go through. And probably by the time the end of August and Fan Expo's done, I'll probably have another 40 more to go through. But what was another one? There was another one that came to mind. The new Dark Knight. Dark Knight 3. The can't remember his name. That wasn't a bad book either. All right, last question. I'll get you guys on the road for the evening. Oh, this one I hate because I want all of it. If you could have any colored lantern ring, what one would it be? This is a question and a half because I'm a diehard Lantern fan. For those who aren't a giant Lantern fan, as I am, so you have the Green Lantern, and during the reboot that Jeff Johns created, he wrote in that there are other colored lanterns, and the connecting force between all of them is they've realized that every one of the colored lanterns represents a point on the emotional spectrum. So you have red, which is anger. You have orange, which is greed. You have yellow, which is fear. You have green, which is will. You have blue, which is hope. You have purple, which is passion. You have pink, which is love. And you have the opposites, white, life, black, death. There's other ones now, which is like a gold and stuff, but I don't count those. I'm going to be a stickler in the mud. That's a dumb idea. Obviously, I would love the White Lantern ring, because to be a White Lantern, you have to control all the emotions, which is something I think everybody has a goal to do. I've always said the orange one is my favorite, because I like the character that holds it. So similar to the Green Lanterns, other lanterns have their own cores. So there's different members in different realms, and they all cover different worlds. Orange, though, is greed, and orange, there's only one at a time. And in order to get that ring, you have to kill the old lantern. I always liked that idea because I think it's perfect for greed. The character Larfleeze, who is the Orange Lantern, he's such a comical character. I've always enjoyed him, but I don't know if I could be an Orange Lantern. I'm not that greedy. Honestly, I'd have to stick with traditional green. The willpower to face your fears is something I love the idea of. And besides that, I don't know if I fit any of the other ones. Maybe hope. I always am a hopeless romantic and try and see the hope in everybody, but definitely not anger, definitely not fear. The other ones, love, passion, etc. So I would say I'm going to stick with green. It's worked so far as a Green Lantern fan, so I think I'm going to stick with that one. But hope would be a nice second one. I've always thought of doing a Blue Lantern costume, because I have a Green Lantern one, so maybe I do a blue one time. But anyways, besides the point. It is 7:57, and I think that is all for tonight. Thank you all very much for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, send this to your friends, share it to the world. Thank you for everybody in chat. Greatly appreciate you guys throwing in some of your input here. Next week is an interesting one. We talked a lot about WrestleMania today and WWE being sold. So next week, we are going to talk about backyard wrestling. I had a backyard wrestling federation. I had friends that came over and we did backyard wrestling. We had pay-per-views. We had entrance themes. We had title belts. And at one point, those friends moved on because they went off to college. And then that federation merged with another federation to make an alliance. We're going to talk more about that. My time in backyard wrestling next week here on the podcast, Monday Night Nerd. Thank you, folks, again for watching. I will see you next week. Have yourselves a good week. Bye for now.